Hi guys, joyous Monday. Welcome to hashtag No Filters with me, Cheryl, Norris, Hopkins. We're on number 26, the 18th of January 2021. Thanks so much for joining me either now, live, in the future, in the past, who knows when. As always, in the description, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, you'll see links to anything I'm doing, which currently is basically just pointing back to the YouTube channel, links to Sabina's site, and obviously description. Please share the video if you find it useful, and if you don't, that's fine too. So let's get started. Let's let it all go, shall we? Let me just turn off the other device. This is looking good. Yep, super, super, super. Let it all go. What on earth am I on about today? Well, I thought it'd be three cool things to talk about because, as always, the world is doing its cray. It's getting crazier. And if you haven't joined before, whatever I say is not the truth. My invitation is to give you some tips, some insights, some different perspectives on what's going on in the world, really behind the scenes, in who we are as people and what we've been told, and how we can kind of really navigate what's going on the planet. If you're curious, there's a video pinned at the top of the channel called 2021 and Beyond that talks about kind of four narratives, if you like, of possibilities. And the show I did last week, which is called One Out of Lockdown, Face Death, I really highly recommend. Okay, so off the back of that, I really wanted to look at some of the stuff that gets in our way day to day, and that if we start to kind of clear it out, it's going to be an easier ride. So I'm going to look at three key areas. One, physical clutter. Two, letting others do what they need to do. So letting go of control of other people in your life and their choices. And the third one is basically letting go of needing to be comfortable. Right? So let's get going. Clutter. Guys, what's your space like? Physical clutter. What's your home like? What's in those drawers? What's in the loft? The garage? All those things you might have been putting off, thinking, oh yeah, I'll sort it out later, or I'll just hold on to that. Now, I'm a really damn tidy person. I'm pretty minimal in clutter terms. But I tell you what I've noticed, because I'm basically going through somebody's house at the moment who has just died, and I'm bagging up their belongings, I'm ruthless. I come across stuff and I'm like, it's going either in the bin and or it's basically getting bagged up to go to some new homes, all being well. And whilst I'm doing that, what I've been really aware of is that I had the thought maybe a week or two before that, I would be do my next layer of decluttering. And if anybody's ever been in my home, they can see it's pretty clutter-free already. But I knew there was a few papers and there's a few things from my most recent move that we've kept hold of. And now they've been, not being used for a couple of years. I think they can go too. But it was really brought into sharp attention that when we die, shit, how do people clear our stuff? Now, it does depend how emotionally attached they are to us, and how much they've, maybe the stuff that's unresolved in their world that they had when they were in relationship with us. Yeah, and because I have quite a healthy, a very freeing perspective on death, for me, it's very easy to go through somebody else's stuff and just go, put it into whatever part it needs to go into. So it really brought it into sharp focus that because I'm willing to face my own death, like my own mortality, which, as I mentioned on last week's show, is basically when you're willing to face your own mortality and have ease with that, it's very hard to be controlled or to be frightened by what's going on in the world. Doesn't mean you won't feel what's going on, be aware, but it's very challenging for others to kind of get hold on you and scare the shit out of you by telling you stories about what may or may not occur in the world, when you're kind of totally cool with being willing to die. So I'm just really aware of like, okay, what do I need to let go of? Because if somebody needs to clear up after me, and I'm planning on staying around, I'm planning on enjoying this ride, because I think there's going to be some pretty cool stuff that comes out in the world, but we're going to go through some really bumpy stuff, like some real chaos. But it kind of has given me the idea of being really sharply focused on, okay, if somebody came in, didn't really know me, had no real emotional attachment to me, what would they clear out? So if you can look at your own stuff in your own life, the stuff in your home, let's just keep it on physical because there's mental, emotional clutter as well, but we'll just keep it physical for now. What if you looked at it, would you think if somebody else came in, they'd go, how would they treat that stuff? Would they just kind of like bag it, trash it? Would they give some of it to charity? Would they sell some of it? What would they do? And the reason I'm giving you that as a perspective is because it can help to be that neutral or that ruthless, some might call it, to really cut through the stuff. And why, actually, would you even want to declutter? Why would you even care about clearing out some stuff, physical stuff in your home? Well, you know what it's like. The things you avoid doing, they take up energy, right? They take up space in your mind, in your emotions, beyond their physical presence. And you know what it's like when you have cleared something up, whether it's just tidying a drawer or you've physically taken rubbish out of the trash can. It's like a little weight gets lifted. There's more clarity. So things in your space affect how you feel. They affect your being. And with the world being so turbulent and there being an increase in pressure on us to make certain choices, us being aware of stories that are being told in the media about what may or may not occur, the less clutter you have, the less things pulling on you, the more clarity you can have, right? Literally, the more physical space you have, the more mental and emotional space you have. So I wanted to offer you that as a perspective. Just jump onto the second thing. What about letting go of letting go of control of other people and their choices? And what do I mean by that? Well, people around you are going to be making choices now in their life, and I'm seeing this in mine, so I only have to speak about what's really present in my own life. These videos, this chat, particularly when Sabina and I started it back in May, was entitled #NoFilters for that very reason, that it was whatever we are going through, that we would share without filtering it, literally just let it out, so that it would be an inspiration, that it could give you insight, that maybe it resonated with something that's going on in your world, and you know it would make it easier for you to kind of have some more clarity, but also not feel cray, because sometimes we look at stuff and we think it's just ours, but there's often a common theme that we're aware of that's going through the world. We pick up on things, so it can be kind of cool to have somebody else's perspective. And again, don't take it as truth, guys. Use it to bounce off to find your path, right? It's all about your path. So don't get other people's choices. So I'm really aware there are people in my life that are going to make a choice about some various things that are being offered in the world, that I will make a different choice to. And it can be very easy to want to persuade others in our life, particularly if we're close to them, we care for them, because we might have more awareness, more knowledge of it, and we can kind of see what implications it may have. But frankly, that doesn't really matter, does it? Because as I bumped into somebody lovely today that's lives where I live, and we were chatting briefly about this, although we're all connected on so many levels, we're also having a unique experience. So what somebody else chooses to do with their life and their body, even if they live with you, or even though, within your family circle or friend circle or whatever it is, generally the closer somebody is, whether it's partners or kids or siblings, parents, that general inner circle, we tend to have more investment in wanting to try and persuade those people. If you can think about it, if you put a hand out to everybody that's in your life that you deem close to you or you feel caring for, and you try and pull on all of them to sort of direct them because of what your perspective is, you're going to tie yourself up in knots. If not physically, definitely mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And so letting other people choose is another big area. Now, I know that if you're responsible for somebody, let's say it's a child or even a parent, it can be extra challenging. I get that. And obviously, if you're a parent, then there are things you make, decisions you make, choices you make as an adult. You do have extra responsibilities, right, for your child. So as much as you want to let your child choose for them, so they learn to be responsible for their choices and the impact. As an adult, you have additional overarching responsibility to that. with them too. Thanks for the like, guys. Any likes or comments, please add a comment, because I can then see who's on. Otherwise, all I just see is numbers, and that's it. But let's say it's, a partner, a brother or sister, and they're going to be making a choice that you really don't agree with. The more invested you are in trying to change their mind, the more stressful it's going to be for you and them. And this really ties back to last week's show, and that facing death. I talked about 3 things in that. It was facing your own mortality, being willing to let go and have mini deaths in terms of letting go of society and all the systems and things that I perceive are going to be changing massively and already are in the process of changing. And this is going to unwind, guys, and you're going to see it for yourselves. It's not about believing my predictions. You're going to see it for yourselves, so watch that. And then the third bit was about being willing to have ease with the death of another. So death of another can be literal, but it can also be them choosing differently. And the more ease you can have with letting them choose, even though it may affect you, or you perceive that it will affect you, and it may do practically. And so you need to take care of yourself, right? Prepare for yourself to do what you need to do. The more you can let others choose for themselves, the more ease you're going to have through this ongoing world reset evolution. Let's just call it that. Okay? And I've had to really learn this because I'm aware of so many things, because I investigate so much stuff, but also just my own gifts, talents, awakening, if you like. And I have a practice and it's a non-stop path for me. It has been for years. Not all those around me are on that path by any means. And so I have to catch myself when I have family members particularly saying they're going to make a choice that I'm thinking, I wouldn't do that. And I've had to really, and I have said that out loud, but the more and more I go forward, and particularly now some of the new announcements in the paper and so on, I'm really aware that actually it's none of my effing business what they choose. It really isn't. And basically, if I am invested in trying to control what they choose, even if I believe it's going to create something greater for them, one, that's kind of an arrogance in that they chose to be born into this life. They've got this far. Let them continue choosing. Now, if it does have a direct impact on you, for example, you share a home with somebody, or you parent, a child with somebody, whatever, there might be things you have to do to, like practical things you might have to set up to take care of that. So I've been having some very practical conversations with my partner around that. There are certain choices he might make that are going to be different to me, and we've discussed some of that. And so I've made some requests, some things I'd like him to do that would then make it easier for us to have separate choices in things that are quite fundamental. So there can be some very practical things to do, and it's almost like a business transaction, which sounds very clinical, but when we're able to just be really straight and direct, there's no miscommunication, there's no misunderstanding, and it actually takes out that emotional entanglement of that push-pull, drama that so much that occurs so much in our communication and our relationships. I'll give you an example. Actually, somebody just rang me and wants to know about as I've had a death in my immediate circle, and somebody rang to find out what was the cause of death for this person. And I said, does it even matter? Like, the person was adorable and is adorable, and they made certain lifestyle choices, which basically meant their body was breaking down. So that's what created it. It doesn't matter what it gets diagnosed as or labeled as. They made choices. It ended up their body said, enough, done. Or their being said, I'm out of here, whatever level you want to believe that on. We still want to label things, and we still want to box it, try and make sense of it. And I guess that nicely segues into the third point, which was basically letting go of comfort. I'm hearing people talk more and more about wanting to get back to how life was. And obviously there's the offer of the inoculations, just to say it that way. And I believe, I'd put a lot of money on this, that a lot of people are willing to take it, and that's totally cool, because they believe that we're given all their freedoms on all the things we had before this all started at the beginning of 2020. Now, I have a different perspective on that. And right now, that doesn't matter. What's really key here is that people are feeling really uncomfortable with where they are right now and what's going on in the world. And they want to go back to what they knew, because that is literally the comfort zone. So people are willing to trade something, their body in this instance, to have that familiarity. Not good, not bad. It's just an interesting choice. And being aware of being aware of what one's trading. Okay, and I talked about this in a quickie video. Take it, I think it's in the playlist of quickies, and it's take it or don't. It's your choice, But in that, I talk about just be aware, like anything in life, whether it's going for food from the cupboard, whether it's buying something online, whether it's flicking through our phones, whether it's getting an inoculation. More often than not, we do it because we have some sense of uneasiness. We're aware of something, we're aware of an energy, we're aware of a situation, and we can feel that going through our system, and we've labeled it as discomfort, and it may be unfamiliar, so it's uncomfortable, and we don't like that. We've decided that's wrong. So to squash it, we do something. And right now, I'm seeing a lot of people are going to be choosing to inoculate. I'm using this example because it's such a big thing. It's a countrywide thing, right? It's a worldwide thing. Some will be doing it because they believe it'll give them health protection. All cool, whatever you believe there, yes or not. But many are really doing it from a space of, I want to go back to what I knew. What if it doesn't go back to what you knew? And you might say it doesn't matter. Let me invite you to this. If the world doesn't go back to what it was, and it never will, it's not possible. Even if things suddenly all open up tomorrow, I don't think that's going to happen for a start. But there's a psyche. There's for many people, there's been I'm going to call it psychological and emotional trauma, and then it's just trauma around this. There's a lot of fear being put through the waves, airwaves, the media waves, society right now. And unless somebody's really, really on their case with realizing that's just an energy that's been put out there, and it's not personal, like it's not yours, it's just something it's going through the space. And most people, our society has been set up and we've been constantly bombarded with fear from the day we've been born, pretty much. So most of us are so used to operating on that level, we don't even question it. And this heightened version has enabled things to be accelerated, things that we never thought we would see, so-called freedoms to be taken, withheld, that none of us would have necessarily perceived was going to occur. Although I say none of us, that's not true. There are those of us that knew this was coming to some degree, but on the whole, right, worldwide society wasn't aware that this was going to happen. So we're so used to comforting ourselves, trying to avoid discomfort, that we're willing to do anything for that. And this is a big step, right? There's been demands and requests for us to make different lifestyle choices, and that's going to continue in so many ways. And on that 2021 and beyond video I did, which talked about 4 narratives of what's occurring in the world. And the first one is that there's a big virus that's it's deadly and we're all at risk and our health's at risk and blah blah. That's the current narrative, right? The second one was around that really that's a smokescreen. It's not what we're being told, but it's a smokescreen for our whole financial system to be reset, to become digital, to be more like a socialist control system, and for us to be closely aligned with artificial intelligence. So digitization of our systems and our bodies. The third one was that digitization will occur, but it won't be about so much as a control system. We'll have more freedom within that, and actually there'll be more of an opening up and disclosure of what's going on. And the fourth narrative was actually there is a push for control of the whole population. However, there's an evolution going on in us, and that we're awakening. So as we awaken and we're pushing all the crap and all the corruption, all the things that have been hidden to the surface, as we do that, all this stuff is accelerating. It doesn't matter if you believe any of those narratives or none of them, right? What we are seeing and what we will continue to see is a disruption on all of our systems. I mean, listen to that video because it obviously goes into a bit more detail in terms of depending which narrative you might want to play with, or combination, or even more. It talks about different systems in society and how they may be affected depending on which narrative one is looking at, or any combination. So our systems are going to continue to change. If nothing else, if you believe the mainstream, which is we've created and pumped out tons of money to support people during the lockdown, well, who's going to repay that? Even if you believe mainstream, and there's lots of narratives around the financial system, what that is and isn't, and we could spend a lot of time chatting about that. Fundamentally, if you believe in the mainstream way of living and what we're being told, then somebody's got to repay that, right? Which means an increase in taxes. We may not have our society opening up fully for a very long time, so people's financial situation could be challenged. That will be uncomfortable, just if you believe that mainstream narrative. So the more you can be comfortable with being uncomfortable and not react and not knee-jerk because you think something will save you or get you out of that, the easier this ride will be, no matter what occurs. And there's some great videos in the playlist called Preparing for the Future. In fact, I've changed its name. I've called it 2021 and Beyond, the playlist on the YouTube channel. There were 3 videos there, at least, called Preparing for the Future, so that could be really useful. Let me just have a look here. Hi, Simon. So, Simon's saying here, thanks for joining, Simon, by the way. It's a comment. I'll read it out loud. I've had a test today. I hope it's going to be negative. So he's talking about COVID test, obviously. He's a bit worried about the outcome and the impact it will have emotionally on him, his family, friends. He's healthy as he can still run, so maybe the test will be negative. Then I'll be less worried. And he's also baked a lovely fruitcake. Awesome, I love that. Yes, doing things that are joyful, really important. That really helps balance that sense of anxiety. So in many respects, we need to be uncomfortable with what happens. It's like a muscle you grow, and being aware that you are plugged into the whole society, right? You're aware of everyone and everything on the planet. You may not believe that, that's okay. But even on the basic social animal concept, you have neurons that mirror, you walk into a room, you sense things. That's part of being a species for your survival, nothing else. You have to be aware of the environment. So you can be picking up on everybody else's cray. Also, there are many different views about the test, what it means, what it doesn't mean. Ask yourself, I guess you've chosen it. Cool, you've chosen it. My invitation to you, Simon, would be to sit with whatever comes up, whether it comes back positive or negative, to kind of observe that. And notice the cray that might be going on in your head or in your body. And just like, even if it makes you want to walk around the room, even if it makes you want to feel like you want to grab something from the fridge to distract yourself, just literally, if you can just sit and be with it, little kids were told to kind of sit at the table till they finished the dinner, and they always wanted to wiggle and get down, and they couldn't almost stay still. If you could be willing to sit with it and just notice that stuff going through you, even if you could sit with it for 30 seconds, and normally you would be like up and doing something to distract yourself, you will start to build that muscle, right? So that's my invitation to you. There's a little tool there that could be a kind of great way of playing with that. Hi, Tanya. Thanks, darling. Welcome. Good to see you again. Thanks so much, guys, for joining. Really appreciate this, you being online. So yeah, being willing to sit with that would be my invitation, because if you go down the storyline, of what it does and doesn't mean, you can drive yourself insane. And we can have massive debates about what the test means and doesn't mean. And be aware, this is what's really cool actually, being aware of our choices, like in the moment as well. What's behind us choosing something? So in that comfort, wanting comfort, if we choose to do something, is it just to get comfort? And if it is, maybe we can start making different choices. Choose not to have that. So I'll give you an example, again, personal example. I've been having a really good old feasting time. Some of you guys might know, I've spent a lot of time playing with food and the body and fasting and so on for a number of years. And I've been eating probably a good solid month, which for other people is really normal. But for me, it's quite unusual. And I noticed that part of that is just kind of, I'm aware of what's going on the planet. There's a lot of stuff that I do which kind of contributes to what's going on in the world in terms of trying to create as much ease for people as possible. So a lot of stuff runs through my body. And I think I've been using food to try and just like numb some of that out. And I was like, yeah, it's not really working for me. I mean, yes, it is, but in terms of the impact it has on my body, it's not really fun for my body. So I've been really aware that, okay, well, just have to be willing to be uncomfortable. As it happens, I've done this before. I fasted loads, so it's not like that's new. But the energies of the planet and what's going on in society is ramping up. So you know what? I'm not going to use food to kind of numb that out. I'm just going to deal with it. Walk my talk, right? My job is to like continue to be that for myself, to have more and more ease with what's going on in the world myself, because then at least I'm a contribution to others. I love doing these videos, but even if I never did them again, just me walking through my neighborhood, how I am being makes an impact. And then that ripples out, of course, because all those people interact with other people. And it affects the whole world. So guys, 3 things there. 1, physical decluttering. Can you be ruthless as if you were clearing out somebody's house that had just died? How would they look at your stuff? Can you start to be that with yours? Because when our physical space is clearer, that affects our whole being. But also able to respond more easily, right? If we need to get to something, we need to do something, we need to grab something, we need to run, go somewhere quickly. We know where things are, and there's less clutter. 2, letting other people choose what they've got to choose, right? It's all about letting it all go. That's the title of today's video, right? Letting other people choose what they're going to choose. Even if that might mean their life. Okay? So just to say it straight. And if that freaks you out, go watch last week's video. 1 out of lockdown, face death. And number 25, go check it out. That can definitely contribute if you're willing to listen to it. So let other people choose their path. And if you need to put things in place to support you because their choices will have an impact, then get them put in place. Start speaking up. Start asking for what you require. Don't make them wrong. They're doing what they need to do. We're in individual bodies for a reason. We've all got our own paths, even though we're interconnected. So do what needs to be done to take care of you. And the 3rd thing is be willing to be uncomfortable, because it's going to get rockier and more cray. It ain't going back to where it was. And yeah, the way forward, I think it's going to be amazing, but it's going to be crazy and rocky as shit as it transitions. Simple as that. And of course, again, you don't have to believe me. Don't take it on as being the truth. See what resonates. Take what resonates, chuck the rest. Okay? So guys, I think that's about it for today. I'm kind of like on a mission these days. I'm like, the more I unwrap and declutter my own being, many levels, the clearer I get, the more I'm like rapid fire, the more direct I'm going to be. So take it or leave it. But I'm not here to fluff it up for you. I'm here to give you things that I think will be a contribution. I go with what's off the cuff in the moment. And please do share these videos, right? YouTube, Facebook. And by the way, guys, you know, YouTube and other channels obviously censoring and taking platforms down and things. So if you look in the description, there's a link which is joyfulbodies.co.uk. It's joyfulbodies.co.uk, joyfulbodies.co.uk. Bookmark that somewhere, because that will always point to wherever my stuff is. So currently, if you clicked on that, it would point back to this YouTube channel. But if this channel disappears, it'll point to maybe my Dropbox where I've got a copy of all these, or it'll go somewhere. So you'll always be able to get something, some tips, some insights if you use joyfulbodies.co.uk. And if you share that link with people, that's the best thing, because they'll always have that. I say it'll always go to wherever the latest data is, because who knows? Social media, there's lots to talk about social media, or say collapsing, then lots of main channels being taken down, and you know, people jumping off to other things and whatever, about the internet not being available, and there's all sorts of chat out there. So who knows? Guys, thanks for turning up for joining. Thanks, Simon. Thanks everybody for now, future, the past, whenever you listen to it, guys. Hope there's something useful. See you next week. Big love. Ciao, ciao.